Good morning, Nature Ninos. How are you today? Miss Sally is here with another nature story. This one is called Grandmother Spider Brings the Sun. And this is a Cherokee story. If you don't know, the Cherokee are native people to the Americas. And I'll show you a picture in a moment, but they primarily were from the southeastern part of our country. And they live very close to the earth still to this day. So this is one of their what's called creation stories. One of their ways of looking at the world. And this is how they believe that the sun was brought to us. So it's a really wonderful story. So as always, I will teach you a few signs that you will see in this story. And then I'm also going to make sure that we are able to, on our Nature Ninos website, share with you a link to a Cherokee woman who is orally telling the story. That means that she's not using a book or pictures. She's just telling the story with her own voice in a way that is very exciting, and you can sit down and just sort of listen and watch afterwards. Yeah, so that is the story. And just as I said, this is what most historians are people who look at history. Most historians believe that the Cherokee people originally inhabited primarily these areas. I don't have a whole map of the United States, which is the country we live in, but this is the southeastern part of the United States. So you can see the gray and this sort of pink. So Kentucky, West Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and some of Tennessee, a little bit of Alabama and Georgia as well. So the Cherokee once inhabited a big portion of the southeastern United States and are primarily located in Oklahoma now. They were moved westwards. Oklahoma and North Carolina is my understanding. I'm not an expert, but that's what Miss Sally understands, what I looked up and read before this story today. So here we go. There are some animals in this story. We have learned the names of some of these before, and we're not going to go through all of them. But it starts with a wolf and a coyote. And actually the sign is the same for both. You go like this over your nose, so you have a 5 hand shape, and you kind of go like this because of their, if you look at the wolf, which is on the left side, the gray one, and if you look at the coyote, which is a little bit more orange or reddish colored, both of them have a very similar sort of snout, a nose that comes out like this. So we sign it like this for both of those animals, wolf and coyote. Next, we have sun. We've done this sign before. I wonder if anybody out there remembers. Do any Nature Ninos remember the sign for sun? You can sign it just like this, sun, or some people draw a little circle with their pointer finger and then go like this. And these are like the rays of the sun. And for those of you who watch every week and are learning more and more signs, I don't know if you just noticed, but 5 hand shape wolf, 5 hand shape sun, very similar. We're doing the exact same hand shape with our hand, but the way we are moving it is different. Wolf, we're closing our hand. In sun, we're sort of opening our hand. So they're almost like opposite signs. Dark. Sometimes Nature Ninos and children are afraid of the dark, right? I'm not, although I don't love being in the dark and not knowing where I am. It sure is nice to be out in the dark in the forest when a full moon, like in this picture, is rising up. Anyway, we sign dark like this, dark, dark, dark. And that's just like, kind of like a curtain closing, right? When the sun goes down, dark. And you'll see in the story that some of these animals were experiencing darkness, which is why they had to go and bring the sun back. Ooh, this is an interesting word, sign, idea. This word is steal. Sometimes you hear about people who make bad choices and they steal money or they steal things from other people. Sometimes I don't know, when I was little, if my mom was making cookies or something like that, I would sneak up and I would steal a cookie. Shh, don't tell her. I would steal it. Well, in this picture, this doggy is doing what? He is stealing some pizza. So we sign steal like this. You have your two fingers and kind of at the elbow, you steal something. Steal it, steal, steal. So bad doggy, that pizza's not for you. I feel like we've gone through this sign before. I'm sure you recognize the picture. What's it a picture of? That's right, it's a fire. So you could see how my fingers are kind of like the flames coming up in that fire. And oftentimes when we have fire, we have what? We have fire and then we have smoke, smoke, smoke. There's a few different ways to sign that, and sometimes people do what's called finger spelling. We haven't done any finger spelling with nature stories and signs with Miss Sally, but you can sign fire and then as if the smoke is going up into the air. And hopefully you can see me. It's hard again with my little screen. Fire, smoke. Aww. I see a lot of these when I'm out in the forest and sometimes in my house too, if I'm not keeping it very neat and tidy. What's this guy called? Or gal? Yes, it's a spider. This is a fun sign. You take both hands, again, 5-hand shape. That means that all your fingers cross them at the wrists and then walk, 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 walk. Spider, spider. And again, the way Miss Sally is sitting with her camera, it's kind of hard. I would really sign it more here in front of my body. I wouldn't be signing it up here, but it's hard to see me otherwise. Spider. Spider. Do you like spiders? I think they're pretty cool, especially what spiders do for work. They make beautiful things. What do they make? There's a picture of it here. A web. That is right. That is a spider's web. Aww. These are nature Ninos, little ones with their grandmothers. So the sign for mom is like this. Again, 5-hand shape. I didn't realize almost all of these signs today are the same hand shape. You put the thumb on the chin. Dad happens to be up here, just since we're talking about it. So mom, dad, mom, dad. If you're talking about your grandmother or your grandfather, you sign it like this. Grandmother, grandfather, grandmother, grandfather. So in this picture, we have 2 grandmothers with their grandchildren. And the name of the book is Grandmother Spider. Grandmother Spider. I wonder, why this picture is in here. Do you know what that is? It's a bowl. 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 That looks like the sign, huh? And again, 5-hand shape, but this time our fingers are closed and we're using both hands to go bowl. Yeah, this particular bowl is made out of clay. And the reason why I chose a clay bowl is because the Cherokees, as is the case with lots of First Nations people, lots of Native American people, they have quite a history of pottery, of making things from the clay that you can find in the earth. So that is why that's there. Oh my goodness, what is this a picture of? This dude might be from some book or some movie that Miss Sally isn't even aware of, but he was a very good example of a monster I could find. Monster, monster. Do you sometimes like to play monsters? Like chase, chase, chase? I know that's a fun game with some of my friends that are like 3 and 4. They like to take turns being the monster, and they chase their friends and catch them. And then somebody else gets a turn to be a monster. Again, 5 handshake, monster. I didn't think about it until this moment, but I think all of our signs today were actually 5 hand shapes, which is kind of crazy. All right, so hopefully you remember those signs, and I'm going to read the story now. Okay, Grandmother Spider brings the sun, and this is written by a woman who is Cherokee herself. Her name is Geri Keams, and it's illustrated. The pictures are drawn by somebody called James Bernardin. I'm not sure if I said that right, but here we go. A long time ago, it is said that half the world had the sun, but the other side of the world was very dark. It was so dark that all the animals were always bumping into each other and getting lost. Wolf lived on this side of the world. He was tired of everybody bumping into him and asking him for directions. For you see, Wolf could see in the nighttime. Did you recognize a lot of the words in that first page are signs I just showed you? We had wolf and dark and sun, right? Wolf gathered all the animals together in a big cave. He got up in front of them and crossed his arms, and he said, I am tired of everybody bumping into me and asking me for directions. I have an idea, he said. I think we should go to the other side of the world and ask them for a piece of their sun. I think if we're nice, they'll give us a piece. What do you think? If they're nice on the other side of the world, will they share some of their sun? We'll have to see. Another animal jumped in. This was Coyote, known as the trickster, because he lies and cheats and steals. There's that word, steals. Coyote said, no, 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 no. I don't think we should be so nice. If they're so nice, how come they haven't offered us a piece of their sun? The other animals nodded in agreement. I have a better idea, Coyote said. I think we should sneak over there and steal a piece of their sun. Steal a piece, said Wolf. What are you talking about, Coyote? Calm down, calm down, calm down, Coyote said. We're not going to steal a big piece. We'll only take a little piece. They'll never even miss it. And that is what they decided to do. Then all the animals began asking, who is going to go to the other side of the world? How will they get there? Everybody had an idea, but none seemed quite right. Then from the back of the room came a small voice. Hey, I'll go. I'll do it. I'll go. Wolf said, who is that? Come down here. I can't see you. Down to the front of the room came a little round animal with chubby cheeks. He was shy and quiet. He stood up in front of the animals, and as he looked at all those hundreds of eyes looking back at him, he got kind of scared. He looked out over the crowd of animals, and he said in his timid voice, Hi, my name is Possum. I think I can go to the other side of the world. You see, I've got these long, sharp claws, and I think I can dig a tunnel. And when I go all the way to the other side of the world, I'll take a piece of the sun and I'll hide it in my big bushy tail. And Wolf said, oh, a tunnel. That's the biggest, best idea yet. So Possum went to the big wall of dirt at the back of the cave, stuck in his sharp claws, and began to dig and dig and dig faster and faster and faster. Possum disappeared inside the tunnel, and soon he had gone all the way to the other side of the world. Now, Possum had never seen the sun, so when he popped out on the other side and the light hit his eyes, he was blinded. His eyes got all squinty and he rubbed them with his dirty fists, saying, "Hey, I can't see! Hey, I can't see!" Well, Possum's eyes have been squinty and ringed with dirt ever since. Possum struggled over to the sun, took a little piece, and put it inside his big, bushy tail. Then he turned around and came running back through the tunnel. Possum ran faster and faster and faster. Something started to get hot inside his tail, but Possum kept running faster and faster and faster. That something got hotter and hotter, and Possum kept running faster and faster. And soon he ran into the room where all the animals were waiting. They all saw smoke coming up out of his tail, and they screamed, "Possum! Possum, your tail! Your tail!" And they threw water on him. Whoosh! 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 The light was gone. When the smoke had cleared, Wolf looked up and said, "Oh no, Possum, look at your tail. It's all skinny." And Possum's tail has been this way ever since. Can you see how his tail is on? The story actually never mentions the word fire, but it seems as though it caught on fire. Wolf said, "We still don't have any sun. What are we going to do now?" A loud voice from the back of the room said, "Send me! I'll go!" Down to the front stormed a large bird with long black feathers all over his body and a crown of feathers on top of his head. He held his head high and stuck his chest out as he marched importantly past the other animals. You see, this bird was a show-off. He thought he was the most beautiful bird alive. He stood up in front of all the animal people and he said, "It's me, Big Bad Buzzard. I'll go to the other side of the world. It won't take me long at all. But I wouldn't be so dumb as to hide light in my tail. I'm going to hide it in my beautiful crown of feathers." Buzzard jumped into the tunnel and soared through the darkness. And it didn't take long at all until he came out onto the other side. Buzzard took a little piece of sun, put it inside his crown of feathers, turned around, and soared back down the tunnel faster and faster and faster. As he came down the tunnel, something started to get hot on top of his head. He looks very proud, doesn't he? I wonder. Buzzard soared faster and faster and faster, and something got hotter and hotter and hotter. Faster he soared, and soon he came into the room where all the animals were waiting. They looked up and they saw smoke coming from Buzzard's head. Oh no, Buzzard! Your head! Your head! They got water and whoosh, 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 the light went out. Wolf looked up and saw Buzzard and said, Buzzard, you're bald! All of Buzzard's feathers crackled and fell down to the ground. Big bad Buzzard got so shy and quiet that he ran and hid in the back of the room. And you know, Buzzard has been bald ever since, and he still doesn't like anybody looking at him. You see that? His crown of feathers is on fire. Wolf said, Possum's burned his tail off, and now Buzzard's bald. And we still don't have any sun. What are we going to do now? A teeny tiny voice from up above said, Send me. I'll go. Hey, send me. I'll go. I'll go. Wolf looked all around, but he couldn't tell where the voice was coming from. Who is that? Where are you? Come down where I can see you. Down from the corner of the ceiling squeaked the tiny voice. Send me. And right there in front of Wolf landed a teeny tiny spider. The spider looked up and Wolf looked down. And Wolf said, Oh, no, not you, Grandma. You can't go to the other side of the world. You're way too old. And besides, you are too slow. You see her? She's right here. Well, this was Grandmother Spider. She had done many things to help the animals in her long life. She crossed her little arms and said, I know I'm old. You don't have to tell me I'm old. But I want to help my people one more time. I need a piece of clay about so big, and you'll get me a piece, won't you, son? Wolf went and got Grandmother Spider a piece of clay, and she sat in the middle of the room and began to chant. Soon she had worked the clay into a little bowl. She picked up that beautiful clay bowl and disappeared inside the tunnel. They say it took Grandmother Spider a long, 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 long time to get to the other side of the world. You see her bowl? There she is. On her back, or maybe it's her head. The sun gods were out now. They knew somebody was trying to steal some of their sun, and they stood in a tight circle around it. They weren't going to let anybody through. See them, they're up here guarding the sun. The sun guards were mean-looking monsters. They had fire coming out of their heads. They had fire coming out of their mouths. Hiss. And they held their weapons ready for a fight. But Grandmother Spider was so tiny that they didn't even see her. She sneaked between them, went up to the sun, took a little piece, put it in her clay bowl, and sneaked back past the sun gods, or guards, sorry. Wow, look at the fire coming out of their heads and their mouths. They do look like mean monsters. I wouldn't want to meet those sun guards. No way. She came back down the tunnel very, very slowly. It took her a long, 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 long time to get to her side of the world. And as she got closer, something happened. The light inside her bowl began to grow. The little rays stretched out of the bowl. As she came out of the tunnel into the cave, that ball of light was growing and growing. She could hardly even carry it. All the animals came running to help Grandmother Spider, Blind Possum and Bald Buzzard, Wolf and Coyote and Bear and Deer and all of the others. But that ball of light just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it got so big that the animals had to squeeze it out of the cave. And as it squeezed out into the world, it bounced up into the sky. Boing! It is said that from that day on, whenever Grandmother Spider would spin her web, the shape of the sun, which is a circle, right? The shape of the sun would be at the center. Grandmother Spider spins her web that way to this very day. Looks like they're celebrating her now for bringing the sun, huh? Isn't that a great story? I love it so much. And there are a few things in here I wanted to read. This is a note from the author, Geri Keams, who wrote this book. Remember, I told you she's a Cherokee woman herself. It says, in this story, Grandmother Spider creates a bowl in which fire is carried. To this day, the Cherokee people make clay bowls, which reminds them of Grandmother Spider's remarkable journey. Just as Grandmother Spider carried her bowl through the long tunnel, Cherokee potters placed their bowls of soft clay in a cool, dark place to dry and harden. And just as Grandmother Spider's bowl became stronger as she carried the sun in it, Cherokee potters placed their bowls in a hot fire to give them strength. Grandmother Spider brings the sun, teaches us to respect and honor fire. Grandmother Spider and our four-legged friends, just as the Cherokee people do. There you go. I hope you enjoyed that story. Look for some additional links. And I will see you, Nature Ninos, next week for another wonderful story. Thanks so much.